morning. I'm Dr. Ferreira and primary lecturer of the module ETH203Q, Guidance, Counselling and Life Skills Development. So it's exam time and exam stress. So where do I start? And sometimes you probably feel just too tired to start, even before you start. And I also know that, we write 1 day, 2 days, sometimes 2 modules on a day, and it is very stressful. So let me try and take some of the stress away for you, hopefully, in this session, and let's move on. So how do I start? Now, you have this in your tutorial letter 201, but I'm going to just take 4 points out of this, because if you work in a group or alone, these are very important points to just get you going, because it takes some of the stress away. You don't know where to start, let's start here. So let's look at each learning unit in the study guide separately. You know there are 4. Then take note that each learning unit starts with an introduction, learning outcomes and activities, and that each learning unit ends with a summary and answers to the self-help activities in the learning unit. So read the introductory material, the headings of the main text, and the concluding paragraphs. And when you've gained an overview of the learning material, you are ready to start working through the study guide in more detail. That's just a brief little 4 points that you must take note of. Then, this is where it becomes important, very important in this module. First of all, look at your assignment questions of both semesters, 1 and 2. Then go through questions of a previous exam papers, and they're on your system. Then find those concepts and questions in each unit. Where do I find them? Look at the table of contents. And very important, you have all received by now, because it is uploaded on the system, tutorial letter 201. This is the most important tutorial letter in preparation for the examinations. So let's just a brief on what's important in this tutorial letter. Important concepts are on pages 6 and 7. Now, there are many concepts there. But if you look at the units, you'll find them in each unit. But don't think that's the only concepts, even if there are many listed in tutorial letter 201. As you glance through the unit, you may find other concepts that you think are important. But those on pages 6 and 7, you should know them as if they were the most important concepts. Again, then find the concept or question in each unit again. For answers, refer again to the table of contents. Then group them under each unit, and then starts your note-taking strategy. And that will be and shows you quite clearly on pages 5 and 6 in the tutorial letter. Now, just a little bit on a note-taking strategy. In tutorial letter 201, we show the curvy mind map. But you can have various mind maps, various note-taking strategies. Some people work in an auditory level. They need to hear and say it out loud. Others specifically prefer visual means of learning. And a very good technique here, as I said, is the curvy mind map. Take the steps one by one as I guide them through in tutorial letter 201. Then do your curvy mind map. But there's something else I didn't mention, and that's the power of visualization. Once you know what the concept or the answer to the question is. Try and put it in your mind map. Make this curvy, the larger curve, the question or the concept, and the little branches, just little notes of the main ideas of that concept. Then close your eyes. Close your eyes and look at it in your head, in your mind, and look at it again. So you can't see it, can't get the whole answer, look at the mind map again. Close your eyes. Visualize again until you really got it. You can see it. It's like an absolute picture, sort of a photograph in your head. And before you get that photograph and you haven't got it, you may have to go back. Later I've got a slide that's coming up that I feel I'd like to speak about now already, but we'll come back to that slide. And that's the power of memory. And what is memory? You get various types of memory. And very interesting, I'll show you the slide later, that short-term memory is only 30 seconds long. In fact, between 15 and 30 seconds. Now, if that's the way you're going to glance over some material, believe me, you will not get it. You will need more than 30 seconds to repeat and repeat and repeat. And that is the basis of recall. The lowest level. To recall, you need that information to do more with that answer, as I'll show you later as we go on. So remember, short-term memory is only 15 to 30 seconds. Only then does it start moving to your long-term memory, and that takes a lot of repetition. So how are these questions marked? And I'm going to refer you to a question in the assignment. But on page 4 of tutorial letter 201, I've given you all the assessment criteria, how each question was marked in the assignment. And then also a page reference where you can find those answers in the study guide. And the mark for each question will give you an idea about how many facts will be required. Let's take a look. So let's look at this question. How your answers were marked by the marker. Question 1. I trust you can read this. I'll read it, try and explain. I hope you can see it. In your own words, how would you explain the following concepts? So the question was, write about the topic in such a way that the reader gains a better understanding of the important underlying facts. So, this actually means an explanation tells the reader why a thing is the way it is. That's very important. So you need the facts first. You need to recall them. Then you have to actually understand them. And that's a higher level of thinking. And then trying to put it in your own words, well, that's more difficult. However, we have always been very lenient here. If you struggle to express yourself properly in English, I have told the markers that whatever you are trying to express and it makes sense, then you'll get your mark. But take a look how the marker had to mark this question. So each of the following definitions counted, or concepts, counted 5 marks. You only had to write down 3 facts about each concept to obtain full marks. So, let's take one of the concepts. How would you explain about or define the anxious learner? So you'll see 5 facts there. And basically you only needed 3. So the answer is, as in the study guide, you will identify the anxious learner by his or her sweaty hands, an excessively grip grip on the pencil, a stiff or tense appearance, speech deviations such as stuttering, And we also find anxiety in cases where children refuse to attend school even. That's the anxious learner. So 3 of those facts would have given you 5 marks. Okay, now this is one of the most important slides of my presentation. And many of you are aware by now of Bloom's taxonomy. It moves from a lower order thinking right through to the higher order thinking. So the lowest level on thinking level, in other words, that is what you only require to do is to remember. So that's where repetition comes in. So you must need to recall these facts and the basic concepts. So define them. There are various verbs that will help you to just recall the basic facts to remember them, because you cannot move up if you don't know that. And then once again, once you've got and understand those facts and basic concepts, you will be able to move up to the next degree of, let's say, higher degree of cognitive thinking. It's still quite low, but because you can recall those facts, you can do one step higher. You can now explain those ideas or concepts. That we spoke about how to explain. In the previous question, I said you've got to tell the reader why a thing is what it is. So you've got to take it a bit deeper. You've got to discuss it a bit deeper. You've got to identify certain facts and then set them and translate them and in some way report them in a way that you can explain them in a deeper level that people can understand. Now comes the next level. Okay, that's the level of application. Here, one of the words we often use in a question is like to demonstrate your understanding. So I'm selecting one of those words because it often comes in as a question word in questions. So this is an application question. So at this point, let's assume you've got a lemon. Okay? Now, you know that it is a lemon because it's yellow and it tastes sour. But now you can go deeper to understand it. You can say why this lemon is the way it is because it's also yellow. And if I look at orange, it doesn't look the same. And you know what? It's a bit sweeter than an orange. No, it's not sweeter than an orange. It's more sour than an orange. But you're taking it a bit deeper. You're understanding more of that lemon. Now, in order to apply it, you'll actually go and squeeze some juice out there. And let's assume you've got a sick child and you haven't got medicine in the house. You can actually pour some of that into water and let's see if it acts as a medicinal drink. We all know med lemon for colds and flu. So that's taking a lemon and actually applying it to something else. So that you're using information in new situations. Now we're moving up. Now we're taking it deeper. Now we've got to draw connections amongst ideas. So now we get to things like differences, differentiate, distinguish. But there's one difference here. As we move up this ladder of cognitive thinking, you're going higher. If I say the word distinguish between an orange or a naartjie and a lemon. Let's have a look. All right, there we got it. So you're comparing at this point. It's other words that we use in the exams or assignment questions is mostly differentiate or distinguish. Discriminate, not as much, but I just want to show you other synonyms that go together with words such as distinguish or show the difference between. Now let's move on. Now this is where the catch comes. Now some of the questions are set in the exam papers and assignments that use the word distinguish. Now if you say distinguish, you cannot just look at the differences. This is a higher level of cognitive thinking. You've got the facts now. You understand them. You can apply them. Now comes something else. You've got to take those facts, look at them, and show differences, but also similarities. So let's look at it again. Let's distinguish between a naartjie and a lemon. So we know they're both fruits. They're citrus. They both grow on trees. But the lemon is sweeter. It's easier to peel. Is it the lemon that's sweeter? No, it's not. It was the naartjie that is sweeter. It is easier to peel. It's smaller. It makes a more refreshing drink. This time we're speaking about the lemon. You can drink it warm in a warm drink or cold. And by the way, you have that every morning for those that want to lose a little bit of weight, and you drink it with warm water. It will help you on the long run to lose some weight. But now let's take it back to our questions. Let's go back to our module. There's the word distinguish again. Distinguish between the following learning restraints. That was a question in the assignment, if you can remember. Hyperactivity and attention deficit disorder. So what are we going to look for? We're going to look for similarities and differences. So let's look at hyperactivity. This makes learners lose concentration. Here they show two forms of it. They speak about sensory hyperactivity and motor hyperactivity. Now, if you mention those aspects, it shows that you recalled facts. It shows that you understand and you know exactly what hyperactivity is. You can tell us about sensory hyperactivity, which is different between two motor hyperactivity. So this type of learning restraint may require medication. That is not in your study guide. But you can take it further. If you go deeply, you can go and read about that, research a little more. And that is something that you could have added. Because in all the questions and all the answers, the assessment criteria will always say any other relevant answer. And that's very important to know. So let's go now to attention deficit disorder. Can you see there's something that's similar there? Okay, they experience also concentration problems. That was the same as hyperactivity. That's a similarity. But they can also experience different types of perceptual problems, like auditory processing problems, or for instance, they may have a problem distinguishing between sounds. They cannot listen or hear the teacher as she tries to give instructions or teach, because they cannot process properly. And that shows attention deficit disorder. Okay, and they also do not finish their work and they find it difficult to work on their own. Often such learners, once that it is picked up that there is a perceptual problem, may have to have remedial education or refer to a speech therapist. So there we go. We showed the differences, but we also showed the similarities. Now let's look at the mark allocation. We said each learning restraint counts 2 marks. However, to distinguish, the students should provide definitions, as we said, descriptions, but also indicate the similarities and differences. If they were able to do this, give them full marks. If they could not distinguish between the similarities and the differences, 1 mark each. So in other words, they would only then get 2 out of 4. Let's move on. Yes, sometimes we ask questions such as, is the following statement true or false? Give a reason for your answer. And this is sort of taking it a bit deeper actually, because now you've got to justify your answer. You're evaluating now. If you go back to Bloom's taxonomy, you'll even see it's higher than analyzing. But please don't do that. If the statement says nachos are sweeter than lemons, and your answer you say definitely false, and the reason you give because it's not true, you'll get naught. And trust me, this has happened already in some of the answers where they will say false to the statement and then just answer because it's not true. In that case, you will not get 1 mark. Ooh. Finally, what does each question word mean? Then apply them to any other questions. This is very important. This is very important for the exams now. Take all these questions and apply them, which are on page 8 and 9, and take the question words and see the depth and what and how you should answer those questions. They are very important questions, but you've got a lot of questions now from all the exam papers. You've got them at the end of each unit. You've got a lot of questions there that you could look at. You've got all the questions in tutorial letter 201, and there are a lot there. But if you focus there and you work them out, and you don't start with just recalling facts, you'll do very well. Okay, let me take you back to the slide. That was the short-term memory. I just want to show you again. If you just try and glance through your book and just read, look at all the parts that you'd miss. Some of them would stay there, but you will not be able to make connections. You will not be able to apply them, and you'll lose quite a lot of them. So you'll stay at a low order, if at all, cognitive level of thinking. So I'm going to end off with something that I really want you to understand in life as well. Now this sounds quite scientific, but it is true that energy follows thought. Now, how can I make that easy for you to understand? Whatever you think, well, immediately you'll have a feeling about it. And it won't be long, and you'll say something about it. And finally, you will act. Let's assume you're scared. You're not sure about the exams. You didn't really study, okay? So you're thinking, I just hope that question comes up. I'm not sure about this question. I didn't even study Unit 1. I didn't really study Unit 4. And I'm thinking I'm getting stressed. I'm starting to feel it. It feels so tight inside here. You get to the exam room, and before you write, you meet up with your friend and you say, you know what, I'm quite stressed. I'm really feeling stressed. I didn't really study properly. Trust me, your action will be, you will fail. You'll write, that's the action, and you will not pass. On the other hand, if you really have thought good thoughts, I worked hard, I moved up, right up to analyze, up Bloom's taxonomy. I know facts, I can apply them. I've studied all those questions. I applied the words, the verbs to the questions. I know them by heart. You will feel very, very, very confident as you go into the exams. You'll start saying something you'll start doing something. You must say, I'm looking forward to writing today. I really know this stuff. I'm so glad I went through all those questions because I know them. You know what? The chances that possibly some of them will be there and you will write and answer the question properly is very high. So what you think is going to make what you feel. You're going to express it and action follows. You can apply this in anything in life. So the idea is to think well, and let's end it off by looking at this. Where are you now? Okay? Which step have you reached today? You know, you're writing the 22nd or 21st of October. So where are you on those steps? I won't be able to do it. I can't do it. I haven't studied enough. But I want to do it. You're climbing up that step. Well, how will I do it? Well, you're going to do a bit of work. You're going to go and work out those questions. You're going to go and look at all those concepts. Okay, I'll try to do it. And that's where you will. You'll start with your mind maps. You'll start visualizing. You will try and get it and really move from the basic remembering and try and see if you can apply right to analyze. And then you'll say, you know what? I will do it. I will go and write those exams, and I will feel confident. And then after exam, well, you'll just have to say, yes, I did it, and you'll jump for joy. Good luck, and I trust it's going to go very well. Thank you very much.